One. All right, welcome to the Insight Cafe with your host, Nikon. And today I have my very special guest, Fiona Jacob, aka 𝗙𝗶𝗊𝟐, Irish mystic located in Sweden. And I prepared a really cool intro, so bear with me. So Fiona Jacobs is a certified master transformative coach, coaching supervisor, and CEO. She unlocks people's greatness, helps them to access their innate limitless potential, and help them to show up to the world fully as their truest self in every moment. And my favorite tagline that I read in your bio, but I'm using it now, is "You are an uncompromising stand for people's greatness." And you were like, the way I met you is you were my mentor coach in Super Coach Academy. And I loved all of our supervision sessions. And I credit you and our sessions as the catalyst for me becoming an even more impactful coach. And so I thought, I got so many insights from our conversation. So I reckon we should just record one for the world so that they might benefit from your explorations and our musings. And so I was thinking of a hot topic for us to explore. And I thought it would be so cool if we could explore the nature of wisdom, its implications, its premises, and how this exploration of wisdom can positively impact our businesses, our relationships, and our lives for the better.
Aha. So a small topic then.
Small topic, just a small topic.
I love it, Nikon. I have no clue where to start, so let's hope wisdom does come into this conversation. Otherwise, we're both stuck.
We'll light a candle for wisdom to show up for us. So I guess the starting off point would be to what you taught me. So what does wisdom look like to you?
Oh, I love this question. You know, I was musing a little bit about this morning, Nikon, because I knew obviously we were going to have this conversation. And what showed up for me is people are very clear that we have in our physical body that there is a true wisdom, that if we go back to when your mom and dad and my mom and dad created the being that we are, that in this tiny speck of this egg and sperm getting together and doing its thing, we had this blueprint for our life. We had the color and shape of our eyes. We had how tall I was going to be. We had how I was going to laugh. We had our skin color. And I mean, everything in that just tiniest piece of aliveness, you could say. And that has served us our whole life. It has given us everything that we need in our physical body. We have our chemicals, we have our hormones, our heartbeats, our lungs breathe us. Anything that we need is going on, almost you could say, independent of us in that sense. We're not, how could we say? We're not sitting at a controlling machine and going, aha, let's do a lever for gastric fluids right now. Let's make sure that we have happiness hormone. And we're just not doing that. And why I think that's relevant is because you and I are also attached to this, I don't know if you want to call it a spiritual field, an energy field. Even in quantum physics, the no thing, where everything comes out of, just as we have in our physical body, we have this capacity as human beings for intelligence, for wisdom, for gentle nudges to be able to help us find our way in life. I mean, what is wisdom more simply than the help we get from the universe to live full out, to live our truest self, to experience joy and happiness, contentment and creativity. And that's what you and I have the capacity for. And that's what 7.8 billion people have the capacity for too. We get these beautiful nudges that wake us up to life, to who we are, to what's possible, to invite us to go deeper into our own consciousness and find beyond the layers of who we think we are, the nature of who we truly are. And that potential is limitless. So we're in this limitless field of potential and guidance, and for the want of a better word, the capacity to have a GPS for our life so that we can navigate everything that we come across, everything we want to do, anything we want to create. We have a real-time responsive intelligence. We have wisdom. We have creativity that allows us find our way there. Now, why that is so gorgeous is we don't have to do anything to get there. It's part of us. It's innate. It's just because of the fact that you and me, we're alive in this world. This comes with our blueprint and shows up for us if we just look for that in ourselves. So that's probably a starter for...
Well, that was a great podcast. Thank you for coming, everybody. This has been fun. I loved...
Anywhere you wanted to go with that, my love.
Right. I loved every single bit of that. And then as you were speaking, it occurred to me, and also I read in your bio too, of how one of the things I think you are masterful at is pointing out the interference that gets in our way of seeing that wisdom, right? Because, and to everybody listening, that sounds so wonderful and fantastic to really know that that's who we are. Yet so many of us struggle in our lives in like business or relationships or life. And to me, as you were speaking, I saw this kind of thin line of like, well, if I have all this stuff, like, why am I having such a hard time at life? And I wonder if you could speak on that. Like, what are we missing? Because we have this innate intelligence and this beautiful and wonderful capacity, and we still have such a hard time when life's.
Yeah.
What gets in the what are we missing?
It's a beautiful question, and the first thing I'm going to say is me too. So
me too.
It's not like I was born in all gloriousness.
I popped out glorious, you know.
yeah, exactly. Angelic and glorious. I love it. Well, the way I hold it at the moment, or at least I see it at the moment, Nikon, and you can direct me if this doesn't make sense, is we're two halves of a whole, let's say. And one of those is our unique, dynamic human self, you could say. And in this, I would say we have all of the beauty of being in life. So we get to really smell the roses, or even smell the grass as it's been mown, or bake bread. And we get to hold a baby and kiss the top of their head. And we get to be with our lover and enjoy our time there. So we get to be in life. And the part that I've just been speaking about is the intersection that we have, you could say, with the formless part of life, or this innate capacity for real-time responsive intelligence, for wisdom and creation. Now, part of being this intersection is we kind of do this dance between this formless, beautiful part of experience, you could say, and we're in life, fully in life, with all that there is in life. And in life, there is life, and there's death, and there's birth, and there's illness, and there's business challenges, and there's money and relationships, and there's all of that. And we're not going to pretend like that they don't exist, because that would be kind of silly. But what we forget when we come into any situation is we forget that we're both. So most times you and I, and lots of people in the world, and I have lots of experiences and can share some of these, we'll create our experience through a thought we have, or a habit of thought that we have about something. we will experience that as a feeling in our own body and an emotion. And then we look out at the world through that, let's call it a pair of glasses or a lens that we see. So I'll give you an example. Many, many years ago, I was with a not so nice man. It truly doesn't matter. It's not a big secret. It was back in 2003, 2004, 2005. I thought I loved him with all my being. And he was just not very nice to me. He was kind of mean in many ways. Because I loved him so much, at least I thought I did. My experience was that if he left me, my life was going to stop. My world was going to fall apart. It was just like, it was the end. That was it. And I used to lie in my bed at night and I would cry myself asleep. Because I thought, the thought that I was having was keeping me limited and keeping me in this space of, this is all I have, so I better hold on to it. And not only should I hold on to it, but I should manipulate and make myself malleable for this person because I really want to be with him. So it was almost like that was the thinking that I was in. And what happened one of those nights, which was this beautiful moment, but you'll hear the story that I didn't take any heed of it, was get out, get out. He's not good for you, get out. Now, if you wake up in the middle of the night or just about you're going to sleep, you're looking around your bedroom going, okay, any voices here, anybody else in this room? But it was a nudge. It was a universal nudge that was just telling me it as it was, get out. And I kind of just went, no thanks, I got it. And off I went for another 1.5 years into an excruciating breakup and all that followed. But the other piece of wisdom that I got that night was, hey, you're not going to meet the guy you're going to be with for 10 years. And I was going, can't wait. I had decided my own life, my own fate. So I was going to be with this man. Can't wait. 10 years is way too long to be with somebody. And so I took it into my own hands. Now that's kind of what we do. And look, me too. So you heard my story. So we get caught up in a pattern of thinking about something, whether it's about a relationship with another person, whether it's about money or the lack of money, or money is going to make me happy. And we get into this pattern of thinking about it. And every time we think about it, we just get into this, whether it's an angst or an anxiety or an insecurity or lack of confidence or stress or whatever that thought is creating in us. And so we come into the world and we face the world, our money problem, our business problem, our relationship problem from that space. That's limited. That's a habit of thought. We think that this is the best we can get. And going back to this intersection of who we are, we forget who we are. That beyond that limited thinking, beyond that thought in the moment and that experience of life, there is the possibility to have any experience of any experience. That potential is limitless. But for whatever reason, we hold this as being the truth. About ourselves, about others, about life, about our business. And I guess what I'm here to say to you, to anybody that's listening, if there's anybody ever listening, is that, well, that's not true. Because if we are the limitless potential of the universe, which we are, and if we have a golden cord between our hearts and that potential, then all you could say we need to do, and need, I don't like that word, need. All there is for us to do, then let me say that differently, is to lean in and relax and trust that there is something else for us, that there is another thought possible, that there is another experience possible, that there are millions of different experiences possible, that insight and wisdom and a creative thought can shift the game on a dime. Because insight wisdom simply is we see something now in this moment, and in the next moment, our vision, our view, our experience is 180 degrees different. That is possible in everything in life. So if they start to wake up to the truth of it versus the reality of the experience we have created for ourselves, it just opens us up to a possibility of living a different life, being in a different game. I think that's good for now.
That's great. Great podcast. I'll see you tonight. Oh gosh, I thank you for sharing. And you're pointing. I saw so much in that, and I think so much comes up. I guess the first thing that comes up is, I think when we can really see beyond our thinking, our habitual thinking of what we're seeing, there's so much more to life that's possible. And I always tell my clients that I work with that I tell them the most important thing is the seeing. If you can see that there is something beyond this, that's all you need. And like, I love how you said me too, because me too, like when I get bitch slapped by life and I'm totally buying into my experience, I'm on my knees in tears. I think the difference now between before when I didn't know, or I guess see it, is I thought what I was experiencing was my whole world. Like the problem, the situation, the person, the business, whatever, like this was it. This was my whole life. But through this conversation and deeper understanding, it's like, I get it that there's more to this, but right now, everything really sucks, but it just really sucks right now. And I had a beautiful moment with one of my, because I have a Taekwondo business, right? One of my team members, and he was going on and on about how terrible things looked and like how he was so far away from his goals. And I said, his name is 𝗙𝗶𝚗. And I said, 𝗙𝗶𝚗, you know, it's just Wednesday, right? And he calmed right down. It's like, oh yeah, it is just Wednesday. Like we have so much more to go. And me and my smart ass, right? Like 2 weeks later, I was going on about, like, I was in my thinking like, oh my God, it's so far away and what I want, And my friend's like, my team member 𝗙𝗶𝚗 is like, you know, it's just Thursday, right? And I'm like, oh, some bitch, you know? And I'd like to point us to the direction of the little nudges, right? So there are people listening and like, okay, now we're pointing to this wisdom. And I guess my how-to points, okay, how do we get more of that? And I want to read a quote from the Scottish mystic, Sid Banks, that relates to our conversation. He said that no one can give away wisdom. A teacher can only lead you to it via words, hoping you will have the courage to look within yourself and find it inside your own consciousness. From the book, The Missing Link. And so I think I'd love for you to speak on that, because I think there's a premise out there that wisdom is in somebody, it's outside. Like that's the first place we look, like, okay, I need to read a book on this. I need to, it's always outside. And it's like inside is the last place I would look, especially when I'm a hot mess, you know, and like life just sucks. Like that's like, I don't trust myself at all. Like clearly your best thinking got us here. Obviously the answer is not here. We need to find somebody credible, you know. I'd love for you to speak out. What do you think Sid meant when he meant that no one can give away wisdom? A teacher can only lead you to it.
I think it's fabulous, and I will probably get this wrong because I never met Sid, and although I love how he speaks and how he speaks of wisdom, I will probably do a terrible job. So my experience of wisdom, and I know this is true for people that I coach, and I know this is true for people that I have met, is when we get quiet. I mean quiet in our noisy head, and I'll explain that in a minute. And we get present. So we're not worried or concerned about the future, or we're not regretting or sitting in the past, but we're just in this moment. Everything we need is here. Everything. Because this is the space where wisdom and creativity show up, where insight shows up. And if we're using this divine gift, this access to the whole field of life, you could say, or the universe, well, of course, it knows the answer to the question, or it knows what the next step on the path is, or it knows who to trust and who not to trust. Because it is the field of all knowing in that sense. We just don't get quiet. And one of the ways I've explained this to my clients, and I think I probably have even explained this to you, Nikon, is in Ireland, we have such a thing as St. Patrick's Day, and we have lots of brass bands, and they're fabulous and terribly noisy. And sometimes brass bands are just like our head, full of noise. I'm not good enough, he's not good enough, and we're living in this noise. So anyway, brass band's great. Coming down the street, you've got the drums, you've got the horns, you've got the trombones. And if you're on the side of the street, dear God, you're going to be, help. Beautiful, musical, gorgeous, but at the same time, just you're glad when they pass and you get a break. Now, usually at the back of, towards the back of any brass band, you will have either somebody playing the flute or somebody playing the piccolo. Now, the thing is, for most human beings, you cannot mistake that melodic, beautiful sound. And yes, sometimes it does get drowned out in the noise of the brass band. But if you keep your ear out, even in the noise, you can hear that flute. Now, a beautiful mentor of mine said this yesterday, and I so loved it, I had to steal it. She said, her name is Mavis Kern, by the way, to attribute it properly.
Mavis Kern fan club.
Yes. She said, stillness speaks.
Oh, I want to write that down. I don't need to write that. I'm recording this, okay.
Stillness speaks.
Stillness speaks.
So all that is, if you could say, required of us, and that's even too much activity in my world, when we are noisy, when we're full of this is not working, or I hate my life, or I hate my partner, or my business is terrible, or why don't I get more clients, or whatever it is. And look, again, me too, have those moments, not immune. To fall back into the stillness, to in a way, listen for the stillness, because the nudge is like that piccolo. The nudge is like the flute. It is clear. It is resonant. It hits you in the gut, and you just know. But if we are in future or past, if we're just not in that present moment, we miss it. And I don't call it real-time responsive intelligence lightly, because it is real time for this present moment. It is not a gift for the what if, it is a gift for the what is. So wisdom helps us navigate our life moment to moment in the present moment. So now, and then now, and then now. So it's like having, I don't even think I can comprehend this, but let me try and see if I have words of it. All of the intelligence of the universe available to you in the moment. All of it. And I think my brain might explode. That's what's with you, for you, nudging you to listen in every moment. It's got our back. And because it's limitless, any question we have can have an answer there. That's where the answers are. They're not going to be answered by our busy mind and our hamster going around on a wheel thinking that we can't get off of about ourselves or whatever situation we're in. There is this stillness. In the quiet, we hear it. And we just know what to do.
I'd like to point us in a direction of there's a premise, because I saw a yeah but in my head, right? And it was okay, if I have access to all the information in the universe, I should be blah 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 by now, or I should have this by now. And it one distinction that I remember speaking to our mutual mentor, Michael Neal, and it was insight I had, and I would love for us to speak to it. And it's the distinction of, I think there's a difference between trying to use wisdoms for my own egoic desires and needs versus, I think you said it, living insightfully or following wisdom. And I'd love to, or I have a story, my own story actually, of because I was a competitive Taekwondo player for 20 years, and that was my life for 20 years. And we spoke about that, and I had habitually learned so many ways of being from that sport, both positive and negative. And my journey out of it was when my right hamstring was flaring up, and it would get inflamed, right? And so for people who don't follow Taekwondo, it's a kicking sport, and your hamstrings are like your bread and butter. Like that's the muscle you use the most. And so it would flare up, and I would have to sit on it for a week. And as soon as it would stop hurting, I would go back into training, but like high level training, preparing for national championships. And then I would do that for 2 months, and it would hurt again, take a break. And then eventually, like, cause I think you said it earlier in the conversation, I was like, okay, yeah, wisdom, I get whatever body, but I got shit to do. I got gold medals to win. And then like I did something so like a basic kick, and then the upper hamstring, the upper part near the butt kind of ripped. And I know it ripped because a month and a half later, it still hurts to sit. But it was so interesting. And then I just knew, I had that nudge. I'm like Nikon, you're done with Taekwondo. Like your body this is not the direction you're going to go in. And it was a clear as day nudge and knowing. And I thought I was going to be really heartbroken of like not being able to do Taekwondo again, but it just made sense to me. And I guess the story is, for me, it didn't feel so much of like a very analytical decision. It was, your body's telling you that you're done. And I thought about like, okay, yeah, fair enough. You overuse your hamstring for 20 plus years. There's got to be a limit to what you can do. I was like, okay, and I'd love to going back to that thing where I was like, okay, I'm listening to my body so I can do more, versus surrendering to my body and like really listening to my body, and really, like my aunt calls it, noticing the seasons of your life. Of like, okay, the season of Taekwondo is done. And now an interesting thing that happened when I did surrender, my business started to grow, because I realized I had Taekwondo had taken up so much time, attention, and energy. I'd say if I was like not bullshitting myself, around 70% of my life was dedicated to that. And I saw it, and I was like, well, duh, your business didn't grow as you wanted to, because 70% was all allocated to trying to win medals so you could feel better. I mean, it was fun when it was good. And then later it was like, I actually don't know if I really want this anymore. And then things naturally started to grow. So I'd love for if you could speak of that, because I think I fell victim to that. Like, okay, I get this wisdom thing. How can I use this to bend shit to my will, And I realized like it wasn't like, that's not the way to do it, to do wisdom.
I love that. And I love what you shared too. So thank you. I think there are a couple of things that came up, and we'll just see where they go, Nikon. The first thing is that wisdom's not a tool to wield in my world. It's giving you information about how to navigate your life. Now, we talked earlier, of course, that most people will go outside of themselves to find information to navigate their life. So they're looking for wisdom outside themselves. And now that we've kind of said wisdom is coming from inside you, this is the information for navigating your life. This will be the nudges that say, hey, how about calling Bob? Or, hey, what about connecting with this group? And it's subtle, resonant, and it's almost like we just are in flow with life. We're navigating life not on a hike. We're navigating life simply, easily, as if we just know the next right thing to do. And as you talked about, that's the bit of of living insightfully, that the beautiful part of, we don't need to sit and wait for the godlike proclamations around wisdom or the dramatic music that, you know, my life will change, even though they're great. And I've had a few of those that have really just gone, whoa. But the gift of this is we just can lean in and go, yeah, this is what's next. Oh, okay, I guess we're doing that then. Okay, I guess this is what's next. And it's just like that. It's simple, it's easy, it's like, it's graceful. And people from the outside are going, how are you doing that? You know, and there's no analysis going into it. You're just following the path. It's like I used to say it's like a Harrison Ford movie, and I have no clue which one, but it's like you've got this chasm between you and the other side of the cave, and you need to step forward in order to get across because there's a dragon or whatever snapping at your heels. And suddenly as you step forward, the path appears. It shows up. Before that, it was invisible.
Indiana Jones.
Thank you. There you go.
Where he's I think he's stepping across the chasm to get to King Arthur's, like the chalice. And he's looking at this chasm, and I think there's a part of him that just knows that if he just takes that step, his foot will land on something, even though he can't see. I think that's a beautiful metaphor analogy for life, because your thinking will have you think that the chasm is real and that if you take the step, you will be in danger. But intuitively, you know, you take the step, and true to the movie, Indiana Jones doesn't hop and skip across this chasm. He very fearfully kind of makes step like hot and cold, right? Like, can I step on this? Can I step? Like, okay, 1 foot, and then the next one. And I think that's a beautiful metaphor to what we're talking about, and how, at least how I've learned to navigate wisdom. It's like, is this okay? Okay, it's not like la da da. Look at me hop and skip across this chasm, you know.
Well, it's tentative, but you get to, and I love this bit around the tentativeness and the leaning in and the experimenting, because my experience is exactly, we start off that way, but once you get, oh, okay, oh, now I can trust it, because the first 2 steps or 3 steps, like a baby, you know, you're kind of, not sure I'm going to make it from the couch to the table or whatever, but there's a trust in that you're going to be held. There's a trust in that those steps are going to appear. And I think that is also part of the invitation, is to just really, when I say lean in and experiment, it's take it for a test drive, you know. We don't just have to cross our fingers and take a 4-leaf clover and go, oh, please, you know, it's, let's play, let's make it fun. Let's enjoy the ride. Let it carry us. Let it take us where it wants to take us.
Hot business idea. Fiona should sell 4-leaf clover things. Sign Fiona, and you send them to your coaching clients. Like, whenever you're not sure, you put this in your wallet just for good luck. That's a very Asian thing. We're so superstitious. We love shit like that.
Sure. Okay, cool. There we go.
I want to buy the first one.
I'm sending it to you right now, Nick. And there's something as it came to me though, and I think it's valid. Wisdom is not always pleasant.
Yes.
Or joyous, but like the wisdom that I was talking about in regard to the relationship that I was in, that was not a great relationship. But there was also something very recently, what I say recently, in the last year, and myself and my husband Wilhelm, we were driving, backstory, to see a boat. It doesn't make any sense to explain this, but anyway, we were in the car together. We were going, I wonder why our business is not as thriving as much as we think it should with the two of us, because we're both very intelligent. We both work hard. We have a great vision for the future. And now, normally in that circumstance, I would get a really noisy head, like, what's he accusing me of? And you know, there'd be a lot of stuff going off in there. And you know what? Back to that stillness speaks. I decided not to do that. I decided to look in the moment. I'm probably going to get a bit emotional, so I apologize if I do. What showed up for me to say was, it's because I haven't shown up fully. And Wilhelm looked a little aghast. And he took a moment. And he said, I haven't shown up fully either. And since that moment, our business has skyrocketed. Now, I can't say that that was the most pleasant thing I have heard all year, but it's one of the truest. And this is part of where wisdom helps us, because it wakes us up to the layers of how we think we're showing up or who we think we are. And it wakes us up to, nope, not that.
Yeah, I agree.
And in those moments, we can step more fully into life, more awake, more aware, more engaged, coming from a place of love of the creation of something, love of the business we're in, love of the relationship, partnership, all of it. And I'm so grateful that I had that moment, because I could be still here, I don't know, 10 months later and thinking to myself, well, I'm showing up, I'm doing a good job, I'm working hard. And it's like, cool. And now what? And then everything in the world opens up, because that layer has fallen off, right? And suddenly it's new game. It's a new game. It's a new playing field. It's back to that limitless possibility again. Whereas before it was just this small idea of how we should play.
What I saw in that was the sentence that came to my mind is the kindness of the design in wisdom, meaning I love it when you as you pointed out, because I think one of the big premises that people have when we think about wisdom is it's all rosy and ambient music, and you go with the flow, and the flow is going to show you things you might not want to see about yourself. The flow is going to show you or take you to places that you might need to see, and I don't want to say work on, but maybe like there's things unsettled there that you need to work out. And I think, but if you know it's part of the game, it's less scary. Like I wonder if even in relationships, when people have turbulence in their relationships, people think, oh, it's a bad relationship. But that might be wisdom showing you the things you need to work out if you want to do this long term, right? Or especially in business, like because I was injured in my sport just from training, right? From a hamstring, I had to sit on my butt long enough to see how, well, actually, Nikon, 70% of your time and energy is allocated to Taekwondo. And if you can see that, then you can see why your business might not be where it wants to be and you're complaining about it. I'm like, just like, oh, I see it now. And then to what you said is the next steps become very simple. They just become, oh, I know what to do. I know who to talk to. I know what to create. And I love that, because then the scary experiences we have, or the difficult ones, if you know it's part of the game, it's almost like you don't have to be so afraid of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I learned not to be afraid in that moment, because I was only afraid because I'd held everything so small and so tight. And in a way you could say protecting myself, going, no, I'm doing a good job. I'm doing a good job. Now, at the time, I was probably doing a good job in 8 different things, just not a good job in the business, right? And maybe questionable that I was doing a good job in 8 things at the same time. But that is the part of wisdom that I love. It's not coming from fear. There is no fear in wisdom. It's always coming from love. And sometimes love needs to shake you awake, and sometimes love will hold you, and sometimes love will allow you to see beyond. But there's no fear there. It's just a beautiful path of, I keep using the words today of limitless possibility, but it can take you anywhere in the world, in the universe, in your thinking, in creation, in receiving. It has no if we think of something that has no bounds, no boundaries, filled with possibilities, infinite possibilities, we're just playing a different sort of game. I mean, we show up fully. Remember, we go back to that intersection of who we are. We show up into every situation with that at our back. Whether it's a meeting, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business conversation, whether it's a friendship, we show up that way. Wow. It's kind of like world watch out.
Well, actually, that's a great segue into what I'd love to ask you about. I'll share a story and then you share a story. I'd love for you to share a story of what you've seen showing up this way can do for someone in their business or their relationships or their lives. So for me, I think one of my rock star clients is 𝗙𝗶ecie𝘂𝘁. She is an influencer. She makes the best vegan banana bread in Thailand, and she's from London, and she's an expat here. And I think watching her live in possibility has been like this. I think when she first came to me, she wanted me to help her raise her revenues in her business, and I just knew that within the period that she wanted to do it in, like, that wasn't in the cards. You know, like it was one of those things in business where you just kind of know that some things just take time. Like if you want to 10x your income, it might take a year or two, you know. But what I saw for her was I just saw possibility. And so that was my work with her, helping her to live in possibility. And actually, you helped coach her too, because you were supervising my mentoring session. You were helping to supervise my sessions with her.
Yes, I remember.
Right. And for her in possibility, originally she just wanted to grow her business, but as she stepped into possibility, she created a podcast on Instagram about empowering women. And she interviewed all these amazing women celebrities and influencers. And she talked about things like sex and masturbation and relationships and business and women in business. She gained such notoriety from that, which led to her being asked to open her very first cafe, which is one of the things she told me she wanted to do, but felt impossible, in one of Bangkok's like fanciest malls, with the high-end malls, you know. And now she has this cafe. And if you ever come to Thailand, we'll go. It's the only cafe in Bangkok where you step in and by God, you just feel love. You know, she writes these little cards on these tables. It's not table 19, it's beautiful table 19 or amazing table 16. And each silver utensils are wrapped in like cards. And you open the card and it's like a loving quote. This whole place just vibrates with love. So to me, I was like, oh, that's what happens when you step into possibility. You go to places far beyond your imagination. And I think our mutual friend, Rob Cook, he said this to me, and it really, really resonated to me. I told him what I wanted, and he said, what you want is only the beginning of what's possible. So I thought that was, so yeah. So I'd love for you to share, what have you seen as being possible when people live in possibility?
Well, there's one client that comes to mind, and it's not very business oriented. So I apologize if you were looking something businessy right now. This beautiful, beautiful woman who came to me, and we started working together. And one of the things, and it took us a while because in the intensive, in the first, it might have been even the second day, what came up was she said, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt my kids. She said, I am so angry. I'm so angry at myself. I'm so angry at life. I'm so angry. And this was her experience. So this was the noise in her head, and this was her experience of her people around her, the people that she loved. It's no secret that she loved them, but she just couldn't contain this experience, this feeling. And in that intensive we were doing together, she woke up to the fact that this was a thought created experience, that this wasn't who she was, that she is not an angry person, that she has angry thoughts from time to time. And when she feels them, they feel very real. When she got into how the human system is designed, she took a breath and she said, oh my God, I'm not an angry mother. Now, she expressed to me over the following week that her child had come up to her and said, Mommy, you're not angry, it's great, can we? And then they were in doing stuff together, and that her relationships with her husband and her kids just blossomed and flourished. She started from not having all of this anger in her experience, in her emotional feeling state, started to write. And she wrote 12 poems, I would say in 3 days. And a month later, they bought the house of their dreams that they couldn't possibly even think of both affording or that was possible for them, that she had had her eye on for 10 years. Suddenly it comes on the market, and suddenly they so it's exactly as Rob was saying. That is just the beginning. We're only 3 months into this coaching, or 4 months into this coaching relationship, but it's just, we do not know what's possible until we look, because we are built for the unknown. We are built to thrive in the unknown. We are built to wake up to wisdom and creativity for ourselves and our lives. That is the invitation for all of us, you, me, everybody, to look for themselves and listen and follow that which is there in front of us. I get humbled by the conversations that I have with human beings, because freaking awesome. Everyone I have met they have this is in them. Nobody is left out. Nobody was missing at the handing out gifts situation that they didn't get it. We all have it. We just need to look, get quiet, trust. And trust it has our backs. And let it live us. It's a cool way of being alive, I have to say.
That is the most badass way to finish a podcast. I love that story. I got goosebumps as you were sharing that story, because I saw in your sharing, right, into that original quote where, through your pointing of this lady's story, God bless her, I kind of saw my own premise. I'm like, oh, Nikon, like, you think the things you want are so far away, but that too is made up. Yeah. Who's to say, if you just learned it and got more comfortable in getting out more of the way, that everything you've wanted and more will just flow to you, or at least the path be clear.
Or it's even beyond that, because it's not even everything we want, because what we want is so limited.
Right, based on our own thinking, right? Yeah.
It's like, what do I want? Oh, okay, if I could have this amount of money or this. No, you have access to all of this. Allow yourself. I don't even know if it's a life of your dreams. That just sounds like quirky, but it's like, just let it live you.
Yeah.
It's got you.
It's got you. Well, I want to respect your time and wrap this up. So before I let you plug, I'm going to plug you, because so for real, if you're a coach Fiona is one of my favorite mentors. Through her supervision sessions, I just became a coach that I can say I'm honestly proud to be, because of Fiona and her careful pointing and guidance. And I'm able to run business intensives because of Fiona and what she taught me in Super Coach Academy in another language, in Thai. And like, how freaking cool is that? You know, like, so with that, and I think just talking to you now and talking to Fiona now, like, you know, if you want more from life, if you want to get more from life to help you with your business relationships or anything, having Fiona on your team is a game changer. And you will 10x your experience. Okay, now over to you, Fiona, to plug what you're up to and where we can hang out with you and where we can find you.
I'm everywhere. I'm a little bit of Mercury, me. Thank you. That, by the way, that was just beautiful. You find me anywhere. LinkedIn is probably the easiest. I took down my website about 3 years ago because it didn't relate to anything I was doing anymore. So there's no point looking for that. I hang around Michael Neal a lot in Super Coach Cafe, of course, if anybody's in the Super Coach Cafe. And in a couple of years' time, you'll probably see me sailing around the world. So you might see me at a port somewhere near you.
Wisdom delivered to your nearest port.
Exactly. In some type of boat that we choose to sail around the world in. So
I love that. I'd love for you to do the 4-leaf clover thing. I will be first in line to buy one.
Yeah. Yes. I've
obviously touch of wisdom. Just hold the 4-leaf clover and just, you know, just keep rubbing it.
We might even get a rabbit's foot in there as well. Why not?
All right, my dear Fiona, thank you so much for blessing me with your time and your energy and your insights. I love this conversation, and I think this is the reason why I started this podcast, so we could record holy shit conversations like this that I know will make an impact to everybody who's listening. Yeah.
You are such a beautiful soul, and I love you.
I love you too. All right, and I'm gonna stop recording this. All right, bye everybody.